if you're in a commodity business, you're essentially trying to sell a similar product to what everyone else is offering, which makes it quite hard to gain any sort of competitive advantage. In a commodity market, it's almost a race to the bottom, with businesses competing directly on price to get customers. You've probably experienced this yourself if you've went to buy a TV. Once you realize what TV you want, all you really then go and do is find the place that's selling it for the cheapest. And that's what commodity pricing would look like, where you're just trying to offer the cheapest or the most cost-effective way for people to work with you to try and attract people into your business. A lot of people look at personal training as a commodity product because if you look on the face of it, everyone kind of does the same thing, right? In the same way that TVs do the same thing, you could almost look at PTs doing the same thing from the outside looking in. But that's not necessarily the case, because when you add any sort of unique value to what you do, whether it's a slightly different product or a slightly different twist or a slightly different personality, if you can create an experience that no one else can, then you actually move from the commodity market into the value market. The value market will be much, much more enjoyable. And more often than not, it's going to be more profitable because you're no longer competing with a sea of lookalikes that are all trying to just be the cheapest. You're creating a unique product and a unique service to you. There's two really common mistakes that I see coaches make when they get into the industry. And the first one is that they price their product on commodity. So they don't believe in their product. All they try and do is make it cheaper as an attempt to try and win clients. They think if I can just make it cheap enough, it'll be so cheap that people want to work with me. And as a result, they undervalue themselves. Let's say I offered you a Lamborghini for $3,000. What would be your first reaction? What's wrong with it? Why am I offering it for $3,000 as opposed to $300,000, or I don't even know how much a Lamborghini costs? That tends to be the effect that if you undervalue your product, if you undervalue your service, it doesn't do you any favors, because immediately people just think, well, what's wrong with it? Why is it so cheap? Why are you giving away so much value at such a low price? And then it devalues your product, it devalues you. And that's the effect that undercharging can have on trying to attract potential clients. When you give things away at a ridiculously low price, it makes them hard to appreciate the great information and the great expertise that you have to share. Price creates commitment. As a consumer, if you invest in something expensive, you're more committed to it because you've made that investment. Because you've committed more to it, you take or you extract more value from it. When people invest money, they also invest attention and they also invest energy. So if you underprice your service, you're actually probably going to find that your clients are less engaged, they're less attentive, they're less committed, because they haven't made that investment in the same way they would if you charged a higher price point for your service. The other side of that as well is that if you completely undercharge, all the work that you're doing, all the investment that you're making into them almost doesn't seem worth it, because you're not getting the financial reward for the effort that you're putting in, which means you need to get a lot more clients, which means you have to work a lot harder. What I've seen happen before is people that undervalue themselves quickly become resentful because they're doing all this work, they're still struggling financially, and they're not seeing themselves able to make this work in the long term. So that's really important. We really want to focus on not undervaluing your product. And the second mistake I see is that they copy other people's prices. They'll look at what everyone else is pricing themselves at, and they'll just pick one and they'll just slap themselves down. That, again, can be difficult, because if you're not clear, or if you're not able to articulate on the value that you deliver, then it becomes harder to communicate why you're worth the price that you're setting. So if you choose a price point that someone else has chosen, but you don't know how to explain why you're charging that, or you don't know how to communicate the value or demonstrate the value for that price, then no one's actually going to pay it. So when you are in the value market, you need to be selling a product, selling a personal training service that is unique to you, and it is unique to them as the consumer, as the client. And then you can be appreciated for the work that you do. Your PT product, your service is always going to hinge on the value that you demonstrate. Because when people buy PT, they're not only investing in your service, they're investing in you as a person. And you're unique. You have unique skill sets. You have unique ways of delivering. You have unique ways of coaching that make your service, make your product completely different to anyone else's. Even if some of the deliverables are similar, you can get someone to mission accomplished in a way that no one else can. You can create an experience that no one else can. And that's why you should be pricing in the value market as opposed to that commodity market.